Hi everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about histograms. It's just another way of representing our data. So let's start with filling in the blanks. A frequency table groups a set of data values into intervals and shows a frequency for each interval. A histogram is a graph that displays the data from the frequency table. It contains one bar for each interval. There are no gaps. So the key here, no gaps between the bars, and each bar is the same width. So these histograms are going to be very symmetrical in their widths. So if we go ahead and look at these first two examples, we're going to start by reviewing if it's skewed left and skewed right. Yesterday we talked about this a little bit, but here's some more concrete examples of what these look like. So if we look at our first example, talking about the percent of return on stock, all the data is on the right-hand side. So it's almost like the left-hand side is left out. So we're going to call that skewed left because the left side is left out. On the right-hand side, we're talking about the histogram for years of experience. So now in this situation, all of the data is on the left-hand side. So it's almost like the right side is the one that's left out. So we call that skewed. Oops, let me write that a little bit nicer. So we call that skewed right. So every single time we do our histogram, we're going to come back to that question of, is the data skewed left, skewed right, or if it's symmetrical? Let's go ahead and look at our first example here. So this first example is talking about the number of home runs by batters of a local home run derby. So the first thing we need to do is we need to organize our data into a frequency table. So every single time you see a number appear, you want to put a tally where that number belongs. So the 7 would go where the 7 is. 17 would be 14 to 17. The 14 we're actually going to go ahead and put in with the 14. The 2 goes in with the 2s. The 7, 6 to 9. The 9, 6 to 9. 5, 2 to 5. 12 goes to 10 to 13. 3 goes 2 to 5. 10 goes 10 to 13. 4 goes 2 to 5. 12 goes 10 to 13. 7 goes 6 to 9. And finally, 15 goes in that 14 to 17. The reason we do that tally table, the frequency table, is to make it a little bit easier when we're doing our histogram. So if we look at our data, it's always helpful to kind of write down how many are in each little column here, or each little row. So we had 4 2 to 5ers, we had 4 6 to 9ers, and we had 3 10 to 13, and 3 14 to 17. So when we go ahead and do this table, I like to kind of space it out as much as possible. So on the bottom, remember X always goes on the bottom. So the number of home runs is down here. And instead of going every single line, I'm actually going to group it by 2 lines. So this first bunch right here is 2 to 5 home runs. Then I'm going to skip another 2 lines. That is 6 to 9 home runs. I'm going to skip another 2 lines. 10 to 13 home runs, and finally I have 14 to 17 home runs. Going up the left-hand side, the y-axis, remember y is always what comes second, we're going to talk about the frequency. Well, for this situation, it's pretty easy to go ahead and number them from 1 to 10. So don't forget that you have to put your label, the frequency label, on the line. So if we number our lines, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The title of this can kind of be whatever you want it to be to make it make most sense, but remember you want it to talk about whatever it is that you're talking about. So in this case, I'd probably label it something simple like home runs, because that's what we're talking about. Now that I have everything labeled and all the axes labeled as well, I'm going to go ahead and draw my bars. So for the 2 to 5 column, my highest number is a 4, so I'm going to draw my bar all the way up to the 4. And then yes, you do need to go in and color in your bar. For the 6 to 9 column, I also have 4. So I'm going to continue my bar over and I color in that bar as well. For 10 to 13, I have 3 of them. So I'm going to make my bar up to the 3 and then color that one in. And then finally for 14 to 17, I also have 3. So I'm just going to kind of continue that a little bit and color it in. So that's what my histogram should look like. When I'm trying to figure out the shape, if it's skewed left, skewed right, or if it's symmetrical, remember how we drew it yesterday, that little outline on it? So you kind of see how it's tailing off here. So if I wanted to say that it was skewed, I would probably say it's skewed right because it appears to be dropping off on the right-hand side. And then it's asking us how many batters hit more than 9 home runs. So more than 9 would be these 2 areas here, or looking at your table, all these numbers are more than 9. So if you add up your 2 numbers here, 3 plus 3 gives us 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and try another. Let's look at the second page. I think of these 2 examples. Oops, sorry about that. So if we look at our 2 examples here, we have dollars spent on school lunches, or we have text messages. Of course, we probably want to look at the dollars or the number of text messages. So we are going to start the exact same way we started in the last problem. We're going to first organize our data into the table before drawing our histogram. So go ahead and do that now, and then we'll kind of come together and re-talk about it. So if you want to hit pause, do that, or you can just let the video play as you guys are entering in all of your data points. Okay, so go ahead and make sure that your numbers match mine. Remember, we're going to go ahead and total these up. So in the 0 to 9, you should have 11. 10 to 19, we should have 3. 20 to 29, we should also have 3. 30 to 39 should be 2. And 40 to 49 should also be 2. Okay, so now that we have that all filled in, we're going to go ahead and label our axes and draw our bars. So the X column are the text sent, so that should be the label on the X axes. And again, I can easily space this out by skipping a line, so I'm going to go ahead and do that and then draw my intervals underneath it. Okay, and then on the Y column, it's talking about the frequency, so a nice generic label would be frequency. And then again, the highest number I get to is 11. So let me count my lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I only get to 10. So in this situation, I need to be able to get to 11. So it's probably better to go up by 2s every single time, because I want to make sure I can get a full picture of this histogram. I can leave no numbers out for it. Otherwise, it's not going to be accurate. And then the title, I'm talking about text messages sent. So that would be a great title for it. As far as drawing my bars, I want to be very, very careful that I'm putting these in the right place. If you notice, 11 for my first column here is going to fall between 10 and 12. So make sure you draw it halfway between, and then we go ahead and shade it. 10 to 19 is a 3. So again, I'm going to go ahead and shade that in, going halfway between the 2 and the 4. 20 to 29 is also a 3, so I'm just going to kind of continue that down. Okay, and then 30 to 39 is a 2. That's a little bit easier. And then one more 2 for the 40 to 49. I really like the shape of this one because it's very, very easy to see the skewedness in it. So if we look at the skewed here, we have a lot of data, a peak on the left-hand side, and then it kind of trails off on the right. Because the right side is kind of left off, we're going to call that skewed right. And how many times do students, or were text messages sent between 10 and, or did students send between 10 and 19 text messages? So if we can either look at our table or our graph and see that it's 3, or we can look at our table and see that it happened 3 different times. Okay, I think you guys have what you need in order to work on your classwork. If you have any questions at all, feel free to speak to your teacher. Otherwise, good luck, and I think you guys will do great. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye.